Hello, fine folks of the internet. Welcome to Small Stories Around the NFL. I'm your host, Dave, and this week we're diving into Week 8. In today's video, I'm going to be covering a few options at each position that I think you can make a trade for in your fantasy football leagues that will definitely help you going forward. And then we're going to take a quick gander and a glance at the upcoming Thursday night game between the Green Bay Packers at the Arizona Cardinals. So let's dive right into it. Okay, so in the small stories segment, I'm going to be going over some of the developing stories week to week. For example, big game matchups, underdog stories, certain players and notable options that you may want to look at in fantasy. And if there's something that you wanted to discuss, please comment and let me know down below. So to start things off, we're going to mention some players to target for the future. Let's see if my Streamlabs wants to cooperate correctly. Here we go. Starting at the quarterback position. Quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson. Mr. Unlimited was averaging 23.7 fantasy points per game. The idea here is to go and get a guy that will be consistently great and help you win your weeks going forward. This guy has great talent around him at weapons in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. He has an incredible work ethic that you can see while he's doing everything possible without actually throwing the ball during warm-ups and pre-game situations. And his football sense is just off the charts. Sure, his finger issue may be a slight setback, but pending he comes back healthy and ready to sling, which I expect he will, you may be able to trade for him from the owner who's a bit worried that he may not recover correctly. So far this year, he has 10 touchdowns and only one interception. He's averaging 13.3 yards per completion at a 72% completion rate to boot. And he's only thrown shy of 1,200 yards, but he makes up for it on the ground too. He has just shy of 70 yards on the ground, and he does have a rushing touchdown as well. So I suggest you go and get Danger Russ Wilson. Now let's see if we can make a swap over to our first wide receiver. Did it go? It worked. Perfect. Look at that. I've learned the technologies, folks. Wide receiver for the LA Chargers, Keenan Allen. Wide receiver 35 on the year. He's only going to continue to get better. They have a decent playoff schedule going forward, and you can probably get Keenan for a pretty low amount. I think he's going to finish at least as a wide receiver 2, if not bump himself back up to that wide receiver 1 conversation. He's starting to get, he hasn't really found his way into the end zone. He's only got, one touchdown, but I think that he's going to start seeing even more targets as well, and he's going to get in the end zone. So if you like the idea of Justin Herbert and you think that he's for real, you can go and target Keenan Allen right now, as he's never really going to get any cheaper. He's averaging 14 points per game, but he had a couple of really, really low-end games as well in the last few. So people are side-looking him and kind of forgetting about him. He's been very quiet in that sense. You may catch the owner of Keenan Allen sleeping. So maybe send off someone like Hollywood Brown in a piece, or maybe Robert Woods in a piece, something that could snag you a big name in Allen. The second wide receiver I'm going to touch base on is a little deeper. This is a wide receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders in Bryan Edwards. Derek Carr has been nothing but lights out this year, which is very, exciting, and it's also unexpected for most fantasy owners. He's checking his reads and he's going deep often. He has the fourth amount of attempts, sitting at 266 on the year. He's second in yards with 2,270, and he's only thrown 5 picks. So that being said, if you can snag Carr, go get him. But this is about the wide receiver Bryan Edwards. So he's only 22 years old. So especially in a keeper or a dynasty format, I really do feel like you're striking gold with him. He's averaging 4 targets per game and hauling them in for an average of 19.2 per reception. As Carr begins to develop more and more chemistry with Edwards, you're going to want that slice of this Vegas offensive pie. And not to mention the schedule that's coming up for them. Giants, Chiefs, Bengals, Cowboys, the Washington football team, and then the Chiefs again. This schedule is about to blow up for this guy. On to the running back position. Kind of done a little combo. Two guys, Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. We'll start with Javonte Williams. The Broncos are a weird ass team. They struggle heavily against good teams, but they absolutely dominate bad teams, especially at Mile High Stadium. I wanted to hit you guys with these two running backs as some targets for trade because a big part of the reason that they can beat these bad teams is this dual-headed monster combination of punching the ball and running the rock. Williams, the rookie, has caught 20 of 22 targets this year. He's got a 91% of targets catching right now, and he's racked up 122 yards doing so. He's rushed the ball 69 times for 320 yards, giving him a solid 4.6 yards per carry. Melvin Gordon has 79% of catch rate with 15 of 19 targets, but he's got 133 yards as well. He's averaging 4.5 yards per carry as well, with 78 attempts for 350 yards. The two of them combined have been the real carrying squad for this Broncos team, who are doing their best with Teddy Bridgewater at center. I think that when Jerry Jeudy does come back, this team's only going to get better, and teams will really feel the pressure to not be able to stack the box defensively like they have been against these this running back combo so far. I expect that with the upcoming schedule for Denver, both of these running backs should be targets for your fantasy team. They both are solid running back twos and or flexes, and I do feel that if you had to pick between the two of them, Javonte Williams has the advantage in youth alone, where Melvin Gordon has seen some injuries in his history that may end up creeping up. Now, at the tight end position, one of my favorite players, and I'm glad to see he's finally emerging in his fourth year, and that is Mike Gesicki of the Miami Dolphins. Big Mike is a monster. It's a shame that the Dolphins are going through some terrible, they're doing so terribly, after such a hyped up offseason. They spent a lot of their draft capital to get where they are at now, and that's at 1-6. Sitting at the bottom of division in a spot where they may be looking to add a possible sexual predator to their team and replace their current quarterback to Tunga Viola. I hope I said that right. I think I did. Now, I'm not on the side of either of this Watson debacle, but I do think that Tua is a decent quarterback, and he's not the reason why that the Dolphins are losing games alone. Now, if he can, he should stand up for himself, in my opinion, and he should demand a trade if the Dolphins are genuinely looking to get Watson. All the soap opera aside, the Dolphins are trailing games a lot, and their wide receivers have not been healthy. Thus, Big Mike Gesicki doing Big Mike things. So far this year, he's tight end number 4 with 37 catches on 51 targets through 7 games. He's got 427 yards and only 2 touchdowns. I strongly believe that Gesicki is going to start seeing the end zone more and more. As the wide receivers Devontae Parker and Will Fuller slowly make their way back, defenses are going to be hurting to cover this big tight end target. His blocking does need a little bit of work, but that doesn't matter. He has incredible hands, and his route running capabilities are off the charts. And the Dolphins really haven't they haven't been able to run the ball. They haven't established it, so it doesn't matter that he can't block right now. He's more of a receiving tight end than he is a blocking tight end, and the Dolphins have finally figured that out, and Tua and Brissett at the time seemed to really like him for obvious reasons. That being said, if you can throw something at the owner of that has Gesicki and get your hands on him, I can tell you it will be a great move on your part. So that is some targets for the year. I think going forward, all of those individuals I mentioned should help your fantasy team at some point. Now, on the second portion of today's video, I do want to quickly touch base, and we're going to go on to talk about the Thursday night football preview. There we go. We have the 6-1 Green Bay Packers at the 7-0 Arizona Cardinals. This is a 50.5 over-under with a spread of a -6.5 for the Cards. Both teams have actually been crushing the spread. They've both covered 6 times on the year as well. So this is a tough one if you are making your bets. In terms of fantasy lineup with Arizona, you can start almost all your players. Obviously, Kyler Murray's going in. You've got A.J. Green, DeAndre Hopkins, who's got, I think he has 7 touchdowns this year already, which is awesome. You have Moore, you have Christian Kirk, and of course the newly acquired tight end, Zach Ertz. I think you can start Chase Edmonds. I may be a little hesitant with Connor, and the reason I say that is because I think the Packers should be keeping things pretty close to Arizona in this game. So Arizona won't be able to milk the clock running the ball. They'll probably still have to do some dink and dunk passes to Edmonds in the back and keep him as a receiver. On Green Bay side of the ball, a little bit different. I am a little more hesitant, but I think you can fire up both running backs if you have to. Obviously, Aaron Jones is set in stone. You play him regardless. He's going to be awesome. A.J. Dillon, I think you can play him as a flex as well, but I am a little more hesitant with him. We're going to be starting up Bobby Tonyan, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, if he does end up playing. I know he's a game time right now because Davante Adams is out, and so is Alan Lazard. So that being said, of course, Randall Cobb is going in. Aaron Rodgers, obviously a no-brainer, and he should come up with a decent stat line this game as well. If I had to guess the score here, I would imagine it'll be the Cards on top with a 30-24 victory. So I'd be taking the Cards money line. I'd be taking the Green Bay Packers spread of 6.5. I think they keep it within 6.5. I don't think that the Cardinals are going to be able to beat them by more than a touchdown. And I guess I'm back in the over as well. There it is. So that'll do it, sports fans. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Small Stories Around the NFL. I am your host, Dave. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a thumbs up, as it really does help support the channel. And if you want to follow along and hear my my stories, my spreads of the money lines, my money line spreads and bets that I do every Saturday as well, and of course my waiver wire and fantasy topics that go out every week as well. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will know when I post the next video. Thank you so much again for watching. I'm out.